I'll never forget one of the first counseling sessions that I did at my first congregation that I served at, becoming a pastor. A 17-year-old high school student decided to make an appointment with me and wanted to ask me a couple of questions. I didn't really know the kid. He seemed like a nice guy. Didn't know his family. I was relatively new to the church. But I remember he walked in and he sat down and he looked at me and he says, "I have a brain tumor." I had no idea what to say. And so I just sat there. And finally, he just simply asked the question, "Why?" And as a new pastor, I had no experience in delving with cases like this. I stumbled a little bit on, well, you're not being punished for sin, or God is still good even in the midst of our pain. And I probably sounded a lot like Job's friends, giving some sort of Christian platitudes that sound nice. Oh, God can't give you more than you can handle, which is not even scriptural. Oh, you must be really strong if God chose you to go through that, which again is completely unscriptural. I didn't know what to say, and he just kept asking, "Why is this happening to me?" I think we all have either experienced that ourselves, we have gone through some suffering and pain, or we've watched other people go through that. Maybe it's hearing that your niece is going to be born prematurely and has not got developed lungs and is missing organs and has a deformed leg and probably won't last a couple hours out of the womb. And you ask the question, why? You've been married for many years, and then you come to find out that your spouse is sick with an aggressive form of cancer. And so you go to the pastor and say, "Why is this happening?" And he stands there not knowing what to say. And then you watch as within 3 months, cancer takes his life. We've all experienced it, or we've all seen it. And we all think that this is really difficult material, and that people suffering like Job is suffering just seems to be a little unfair. You know, we have Job families or Job people, and they just seem to always get the short end of the stick, and we wonder why. That's what Job is asking. Why is this happening? And I think, and I believe, that asking why is not the problem. It's okay to ask the why as long as you also ask who. This is where Job starts taking a turn that I think becomes problematic. If you go through, especially those chapters where he's having these conversations with these three guys, and then the fourth guy comes along and there's not even a dialogue, he just goes on for several chapters. But through it all, you'll hear things like Job starting off saying things like, "The Lord gives and the Lord takes away. Blessed be the name of the Lord." What a great statement of faith. Or later on, "I know that my Redeemer lives, and at the end I will stand on the earth, and in my flesh I will see God." But as he keeps going and going and going, asking why, he starts to think he's better than God. He starts to put God on trial, saying, "Come here and answer me." When the why starts elevating us above the status of God, that's when we're in trouble. It's okay to ask why. Just keep asking who. When I talked to that young man and he was asking me why, there was not much that I could say. I have no great theological answer for you. I wish I could give you something. And for him, I just kept saying, keep asking why, but just always also remember who. For the young lady who gives birth to a child who has all those problems, we say it's okay to ask, why did this happen? Just also ask, who? When Jesus is walking down the road and he sees a blind man from birth, and the disciples asked, okay, why did it happen? And he kept reminding them of who. When Jesus is tarrying and waiting after hearing that his friend Lazarus is sick and on his deathbed, he waits 2 extra days to make sure he's good and dead. And out from the town come the 2 sisters, Mary and Martha, and what do they ask? Why? Why is this happening? Lord, if you would have been here. And even in that case, they still remembered who. Who is God? Is God good? If God is good, then whatever I happen to be struggling with right now, God will somehow use for His glory and His purposes. Is God all-powerful? If God is all-powerful, then that means the suffering I'm going through right now is not outside of the control of God, and God is just not standing there wringing His hands wondering, I really wish I could do something for you, but my hands are tied. I'm really sorry, you're just going to have to suffer. No, God is all-powerful, and because He is all-powerful, we can trust in His goodness. We can trust in the suffering that we may go through. Is God all-knowing? If God is all-knowing, then I can trust that He knows what's going on in my heart. When I am struggling and suffering and saying, God, I'm really having a hard time with this. I really don't know what to do with this. I can't handle the diagnosis that's been given. I can't handle the problems in my family. I can't take my job anymore. God is all-knowing. So who is God? If He is all-knowing, then you are in good hands. If He wasn't all-knowing, then that makes sense to start complaining, because He may not know about your problems, but He already does. If you're going through suffering and hurt and pain, and whether it's something as drastic as a brain tumor or something seemingly more innocuous like a family squabble, there's times that we have to ask the question, why? God, why am I going through this? But do I trust in the who? Jesus Himself did something similar as He was in the Garden of Gethsemane, struggling, suffering, crying, praying. He looks to heaven and says, if there's another way, I sure would like an out. In other words, why do I have to die this way? But even there, Jesus knows who His Father is. And He trusts in His Father. And He says, Lord, not my will, but your will be done. Whenever you find yourself in a place of pain, or maybe you are in a place of pain already, I encourage you to ask the question, why? But always remember who God is. He is the one who put this whole place into motion. He's the one who set the stars into place. He's the one who numbered them and knows them by name. He's the one that knows every single hair on your body or lack thereof. He loves you. He loves Job. Lord, why am I suffering? I'm hurting and I'm struggling. And know that he hears you, he loves you, he is all powerful, he is all knowing, and he is all good.